Okay, we're just after 7 o'clock. We're going to get started, hopefully tonight, and get everybody out early. We have a light agenda. So I'll start by welcoming everybody to our June meeting, El Dorado Hills Area Planning Advisory Committee. I'm John Davey, I'm the chair for this year. John Ransler, the vice chair, is here. Tim White, the other vice chair. Brooke over here, our secretary. Glad to see her here tonight. I'm going to go ahead and start by calling the meeting to order and adopt our meeting agenda if there's no objection from anybody in terms of what's on the agenda. Awesome. So we'll jump ahead. Beginning of every meeting, we start by offering an opportunity for public comment on anything that's not on the agenda. If there's an item that's on the agenda tonight, we'll of course allow time for public comment at that time. But if there's anybody who has anything to say tonight in terms of they have an idea or they have an opinion, they've heard something, they have a question, we might not know the answer, but if you want to raise any questions. And if you do have a comment tonight, if you could say your name so we can get it. We started taping our meetings this year, and it helps with us keeping meeting minutes correct. So if there are no public comments on off-agenda items, we'll go ahead and we'll move forward. I have my own public comment. I'm going to throw this in real quick. We want to congratulate John Reslier, who is the El Dorado County Senior of the Year. John does a lot of things. He wears many hats, but he's invaluable to our senior community. He's invaluable to us here at APAC. And he does a lot of things, and sincerely, congratulations is well deserved. We're very proud. So we're going to jump ahead from that. I don't see Supervisor Heidel here yet. Oh, there you are. I didn't see you the hat.
Yeah. Well, I'm advertising the fair. That's what the hat's for. So,
awesome.
Step up and say a couple quick words here. Two things I'd like to share with you. For anybody who's interested in the county budget, there is a special board meeting on Monday, June the 7th. Starts at 9 a.m. and the discussion will be about the entire budget for the 2019-2020 fiscal year, which will start July 1st.
You said Monday, June the 7th. That doesn't work. Today, June the 5th.
17th.
17th.
17th. I meant 17th if I said 7th. 17th. So Monday, June the 17th, special board meeting on the budget. Everybody's invited. If you don't want to drive to Placerville, we do audio cast and video cast. So there's a live connection. You can watch the things that are going on, or you can dial in on just the audio phone number and listen if you'd like. And so that's one of the next major events happening. The other thing is the El Dorado County Fair. And the county fair starts the week after next. It starts on Thursday, June 13th and runs through Sunday, June 16th, which is Father's Day. And there's a lot of planned activities, a lot of great events. This year they've moved the John W. Studebaker, I think it's John Studebaker wheelbarrow racing from a Sunday event to a Saturday event. That's what the hat's all about. It's advertising the county fair and this set of activities. But it's the 75th anniversary of the wheelbarrow racing that they do at the county fair. It's quite a tradition.
It's impressive.
It is. There was a brief presentation at the Board of Supervisors meeting this last Tuesday with a videotape. The guy gave you a lot of history and stuff. Outstanding. One of my fellow supervisors, Brian Veerkamp, who was our fire chief in this particular fire department for well over a decade, is actually going to be competing again. He's the record holder. He holds 9 annual records from the standpoint of winning that particular race for the senior division or whatever division it was in. So he's competing again this year. He's been competing for several years, and so I just want to encourage people, if you've never been to our county fair, consider it. I mean, they have a seniors day where you get in free if you're a senior. Over 60, I think we said the other night.
Yeah, so
60. They have a kids day. So there's various things for various people. But the wheelbarrow race is one of the highlights that I think a lot of people try to show up to. So if you're planning on that, make sure you go Saturday, not Sunday. There's a lot of information on the Fair Board website and in other places. But those are the two things I want to make sure I covered tonight. And then just address any other questions that people might have on something that might be on their mind relative to county operations.
That looks easy.
All right, we're done. Thanks. Hey, John, you did.
All right. Well, I think we're going to we'll make quick work of this tonight. Moving on, we do not have a guest speaker. We didn't schedule a tonight because we are a week earlier than we typically are. But we do have to revisit an item went too far. An item that we've talked about a few times, and our subcommittee had a report on this at our meeting in May. And unfortunately, we didn't have a quorum of APAC voting members present, so we didn't want to submit a vote. without enough people there to do the vote. So what we're going to do quickly tonight is just revisit the highlights of the project. We've talked about it quite a bit, and the applicant was very generous with their time and talking to APAC and answering questions. And then we'll go ahead. All the voting members have seen a copy of the subcommittee report. And we're just going to have a quick vote on whether we want to accept those findings, and we'll pass those along to the county. I did send the subcommittee report in because the applicant had indicated that they expected to be before the Planning Commission either at the end of May or the beginning of June. And we wanted to get those comments in. And unfortunately, I guess we mistimed it. It was not an appropriate time to submit those. So we'll go ahead and conduct our vote tonight after we look at this, and then we'll go ahead and forward the results of our vote to the planning department, and when it comes up on the agenda for the planning commissioners to look at, they'll have those comments to see. And then I would encourage anybody else who has comments to go ahead and do the same thing. You address it to planning at edcgov.us, and you CC Shar Tim, she's the clerk of the planning commission, and those comments will be included for the planning commissioners to see, and as well as the planning department. So, moving into this real quickly, we've talked about this several times now. This is a little over a 9-acre project site. It's on Green Valley Road. It's bordered by Shadowfax Lane, real close to the county line to the west, and it wraps around to the south of the project site. The project site is also very close to Sophia Parkway. It's been a vacant site. It's been used for small-scale ag, and there is a small wetland drainage area that runs through it, and it cuts right through the middle of the project site. We'll see a picture of that in a minute, or a graphic. The last thing really that was worked on there was a conditional use permit for, a plan development permit for a nursery in 2013, but the permit was never executed, so it's null and void. And the one thing that we started when we looked at this from a subcommittee standpoint was that the property is zoned commercial, and that designation is consistent with what the project is proposing to use it for. So we're going to jump ahead here real quick. This is the project site. So here, bordered in red, Shadowfax is on the west, Sophia Parkway here on the east, and Green Valley Road right here, the new AM/PM, and like the purple place, the Small King right there. What was unusual about this project for our subcommittee to look at is that there's another project that has been talked about. There's nothing official, but it's a Sophia Parkway commercial, and they grouped their traffic impact study together for both projects. When you look at the self-storage project, they have very, very low traffic impact because they don't have very many customers visiting per day. I think it was 12 was one of the numbers we talked about. So in terms of what can go there, it could be restaurants, it could be a store, it could be, it's commercial. So in terms of the actual things that could go there, this is probably the least impact in terms of traffic, this particular project. So as part of the project, they're going to improve along Green Valley Road. We all have seen that Folsom's starting their project to bring this to 4 lanes all the way in. But they're going to add a sort of an acceleration-deceleration combination turn lane to turn onto Sophia Parkway. So it'll actually add capacity there at the intersection. So, and this is a rough outline of their landscape plan, but it gives kind of just a thumbnail look of how the layout of the buildings are envisioned. Green Valley Road, where's my light? No. Green Valley Road is right here, and Shadowfax is along the bottom, Rochester on the back. They have some landscaping that they detailed in their application that we took a look at, and we just were concerned that it's a big wall around the project, and that we wanted to see some vertical elements just kind of mask the wall, and I believe that's the applicant intent at any rate. So as we jump through, this is just a rough look at the proposed elevation. You can see they proposed some trees right along the wall to break it up, and the architectural style fits in sort of the El Dorado Hills look. When we look at the aesthetics of other facilities, projects, businesses in that area, they're pretty old. So this is an improvement over the vacant field in terms of the architectural style they're looking at. It's an improved wall, it's not a basic block wall. So aesthetically, our subcommittee didn't seem to have a major issue with the look of the project. To jump through here, the one thing that we were concerned about in terms of the traffic impacts, because it was mixed with the other project, is that it was described that the queuing for this left turn from westbound Green Valley onto southbound Sophia Parkway would there was enough stacking outside of the left turn lanes here, my light right in this area. But when we our subcommittee looked at it, we had a member who saw that, well, this is painted off as sort of a faux island with yellow lines. And vehicle code suggests that that's not quite legal to put your car in that blocked off area. So that was one of the concerns we had, and we also recognize that this turn lane where it's a left turn here and a left turn here, there's no place to turn. This is a wall with a fence on both sides of this. So our suggestion is, if it's as simple as repainting that or eliminating the paint, maybe extending the divided part of the road, the small berm that they have in the center as like a divider. That's something that I think our subcommittee would like to see as a sort of a reasonable accommodation. The only area we need to be concerned about is the left turn out of Amy's Lane. They do need a queuing area to merge into traffic. So something there, though, that would sort of eliminate that confusion, make the capacity available for the queuing for the left-hand turn lane. So the subcommittee recommendations. The subcommittee recommends conditional support of the project as it's proposed. We're concerned about the traffic mitigation timing, as we always are, concerning TIM fees that are collected for an impacted Green Valley Road in Francisco, which is further to the east. We would, as with any project, we prefer to see those real term dates defined better for implementation of mitigation. Frequently, the TIM fees are combined with other TIM fees from other projects, and then you get the mitigation. So, that's just a concern from the subcommittee. We also recommend that the reciprocal access easement, which, let me get back to it real quick, from that other project, which would be right here, so you can access Sophia. There'd be no left turn into this, not from Green Valley. You would come in on Sophia and drive across the other property. That is a condition of approval, and I believe that's what the applicant intends. And again, we looked at the conflict at the western end, that two-way left turn, and just asked that something be resolved there to eliminate the confusion. And then the subcommittee also recommends, in terms of the water quality aspects of the wetlands there, that ongoing monitoring and enforcement be established as part of the conditions of approval of the project. And then we also recommended that of the vertical landscape elements that use as much mature landscaping as possible, because you put a small plant in, eventually it'll be big and it'll mass swell, but we thought the impact is immediate. We'd like to see some of that there. So with that, I'll go back here. The members have seen that. If there's any questions about this right now, that anyone would like to ask, because we're basically just going to say, voting members that are here, I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 members, that's a quorum, we can do it. So if there's any questions before we do this vote, go ahead.
I'm just curious, who is doing the monitoring and enforcing of the water?
That's what we asked, to make that a condition of the...
Who usually would enforce something like that if a building is put on a wetland?
Ravel knows.
Environmental management? Environmental management?
So it's an outside
Yes.
source? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's within the county's department, but a lot of the
Right, but
services
it's
are
not
contracted.
stored.
Well-
No, exactly, it's the county, yes, correct.
But a lot of times we've seen in terms of projects, and we had a couple that were suggested, like the equine project, they suggested that the monitoring and enforcement would be reliant upon people complaining. Well, that's really not monitoring, that's somebody making noise. So that's why I think the subcommittee thought, hey, there needs to be a mechanism that it's not just written on paper, that it's real. So, John's waiting back.
So John, I know that the cemetery advisory committee was sending you information.
Yeah.
Was there anything in your report addressing?
We did have, we had her comments in there, and we encouraged her to make those comments as well as a member of that committee. That's a tough one. And part of that cemetery is actually in Sacramento County, or
Yes, it
is it Folsom City Limit or is it county?
It's actually, actually Folsom, I guess, is deeded the operational aspect to the county, so it's
Yeah.
not a land deed, but we have the operational responsibilities.
It's a mixed bag there, but there were a lot of concerns, and their concerns were about the sort of the visual impacts to that old cemetery. It's a historic cemetery, and also the possibility that being behind the facility there with the project up and vertical, that it would hide it and that it would invite more vandalism, kids doing dumb kid things as dumb kids do, and smart kids do. So those concerns, we included those comments in there. It was, in terms of us asking that question, it did kind of come up, but,
I know staff is looking at it, there's been other avenues.
Yeah, she was
but
also
there's a lot of history to it, which is very confusing.
Yeah.
So they're trying to unravel that, but.
And as far as APAC, we really don't touch it, so it was kind of hard for us, but we did want to make sure those
They were
concerns.
included, okay,
Yeah.
very good, thank you.
If there's any, else has question.
Excuse me. I don't think there was any observation about signage. Commercial activities tend to
Yeah,
ask for a lot of signage, and with this kind.
we didn't ask the
we should
question.
minimize
but-
it, because no one's gonna come from outside and discover this place and want to store their goods there. Everybody will know it's there, they don't need much signage. It should be limited.
I'm trying to remember, it's been several months, I haven't looked at it in a few months.
The county has a sign ordinance that goes along with any commercial property.
Yeah.
So they have to be in compliance with that county ordinance, which gives you size and, the configuration, et cetera, requirements. But if you want something restricted below that, something other than the maximum extent, that should be expressed. I'm not sure that the planning commissioner would respond to that, but it depends on the location of the sign, and my understanding is they plan to put a sign in the corner of the property, which I don't think is gonna be real offensive from the standpoint of,
Well-
it's in a good location from that standpoint. I don't know the proposed size. Mel,
Yeah, I don't remember that.
proposed for the signage.
I don't know the details of the map.
I don't have the sign size.
Okay.
I know we had proposed a water tower
Yeah,
with the signage kind of incorporated into that to kind of.
I don't have-
Nice to have a pure sign. but
Yeah.
A
Yeah,
water
yeah,
tower feature.
it's integrated into, the water.
Integrated
Yeah.
water tower, so
Yeah.
has more design element to it.
If they would do something like that, that would be fine.
Okay.
And that's what we had proposed.
No, totally different. Yes, it's within Colorado County's
What
property.
is the ordinance?
It's a sign ordinance that,
There's
It's a-
ordinance number varies, sizes as far as height.
Right. Illumination, there's all-
As far as sign area. I can give you more details.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a 40-page document or something. It's not a simple thing to read.
It's
All
not
kinds
simple.
of temporary signs, permanent signs, lighted signs, animated signs.
And is it just on the part of the land as far as?
It's based on the zoning, based on the zoning of the property, and then the limitations, there's the height requirements, location requirements, in this case, there are integrated as part of the project, as far as, decoration and whatnot. So, I can give you more details.
It's just community, just on the right property
no,
lots.
it's a county.
It's county.
It's a
law.
county ordinance.
It's a county ordinance. that-
No, I'm saying as far as what the zoning is, what
Yes.
commercial zoning is it community commercial zoning? or-
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
I think general commercial, is that what that's? Community commercial,
Yeah.
okay, community
Yeah,
commercial. all right.
okay.
So, and that is as the handful of people that were working as a subcommittee did not ask that question, but it was, we'd seen examples on the tower in the diagrams as sort of how the configuration of everything looked, but we did not ask about the signs, any other signage. So, Dick, if it was.
Now, where is the principal or principal plural entrances, exits?
Go back to, let's see. The principal, you're gonna have an entrance on Green Valley for eastbound traffic only, and then the westbound traffic will enter from Sophia Parkway through that reciprocal access agreement with this project here, and enter through there. And this is the front of this is the front of the building right here, so the entrance would be, the access would come from this side for the westbound, and there's the entrance right there for the eastbound, two driveways. There's no access on Sophia, there's an emergency vehicle access for fire, for, EMT, that type of thing.
John, one of the concerns, and John may know, or Mel may know, there was a concern with Shadowfax of putting a deceleration lane in so that when the city of Folsom does the expansion, and that's what's planned there, right? As far as I know, that's part of the plan, to include that deceleration lane. The traffic will slow down and get off to the side if they're turning into the storage facility.
And that lane is supposed to run the entire length from Shadowfax to Sophia Parkway to function as a right-hand turn.
So that's not going to happen.
I had asked DOT if they had accounted for that, because there's gonna be a right turn pocket along the entire frontage there. but I asked if they would consider incorporating shadow fax so that people
Oh, yeah,
would be able to turn
We
it
talked about
there,
that.
and the word I got was, nope.
right here at this corner.
Only for entrance into the storage facility,
Yes.
but not before you get to the storage facility.
The entrance for the storage facility, but it's also a turn lane. It develops into a right turn lane for southbound on Sophia Parkway.
Yeah, they didn't want to do the capital project, and then when they come in with this project, tear up the road. and
Yeah.
do frontage improvements, it made much more sense to just do all at once.
Okay.
Yep, thank you.
There are no other questions. Then I'll make a motion that we accept the subcommittee report and submit it as the APAC position on the project.
Second that.
You'll second. So ayes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we're good. So that passes unanimously. Thank you again for coming out. They've been very generous with their time answering questions from the subcommittee via email, showing up at a lot of APAC meetings. So thank you very much. So we'll move on. So this is a project that we qualify as no review. It's an initial notification. This project is on the county Tracket website right now, and it's Sophia Parkway Assisted Living. Oops, went too far. So this is, and if I jump back to here,
Right on the corner?
it would be right here
Yeah.
on this side of the wetlands. So we'll jump into it real quick here. This is an image from the cover of the application. It's a proposed 21,000 square foot assisted living facility. It's a little over 3.5 acres of land. It's proposed to provide a total of 155 beds over 3 floors. There's a transportation impact study, initial determination to be made whether they'll do the full impact study or if it's an on-site transportation review only. So that's being determined by county planning right now as they've put this application in. This is proposed in 2 phases. Again, this is a map of the area, and the storage facility we just talked about. Oops, there's that, right around. That's the storage facility. This is the plan, the proposed commercial, and this is the assisted living. And the access would be off of Sophia Parkway right here. And the wetlands would be to the north side of it. And there's some mitigation for that as well. They would not anticipate impacting that. So these are just the proposed elevations. It is in 2 phases. They propose this first building, which is the bigger building, would be phase 1. And I didn't see the timing. I went through the application real quick, but I didn't see the timing on when phase 1 and phase 2. I've emailed the applicant. I imagine we'll have a discussion and get some more detail, and we'll ask them if they're willing to come and talk about it here at APAC when the time's right, when they're further along in the process. So this is phase 1 again, from Sophia Parkway looking in, and then right here, this is phase 2. And I know the scale of this looks pretty big. And when I looked at this, and again, this is just a proposed conceptual elevation. When I'm looking at this, it looks like 4 floors, but it is on a hill and it's cut out. So you can see 4 windows on the other side. So these are questions we'll be asking. But that second phase would be sort of tucked off to the back. It is technically a smaller building. I think it's only 9,000 square feet or just over. But I anticipate we'll be seeing this soon.
Does they say how many beds would be
155.
dementia or just assisted living?
Assisted living is what I read, but I didn't. I'm trying to remember now because I read this weeks ago. Don't put me on the spot. So this is a project, obviously, that we'll be taking a look at. We're hoping they'd be willing to come and talk about it. But we're seeing more of this. El Dorado Hills is an aging community. And we're seeing a lot of age-restricted communities south of 50. We're seeing a lot of, apparently there's a big market for this right now. Brooks.
It's kind of unrelated, but are there any plans to have a hospital in the area? Like all of
What did she say?
Hospital.
Is it?
Here? Hospitals are expensive. Yeah.
I was thinking down the line, if we have
Well,
all these facilities.
I know, they're still talking about Kaiser doing something in Folsom. Mercy's in Folsom. I know that I have a father that's in an assisted living facility, and when they transport, and he's here off El Dorado Boulevard by Green Valley, they transport to Mercy in Folsom. They don't go to Marshall. So, but it's a good question. There are some medical offices right there for Marshall and Cameron Park. And I know that, why am I drawing a blank? right there next to Four Seasons on the corner. The facility they're talking about.
Quantum care?
Quantum care. They're talking about having a quasi sort of teaching facility there. Can you describe it better? I'm sorry, I made a bad job.
Quantum Care it's a corporation that wants to build an assisted living facility on the corner of White Rock and Carson. And what they would like to have would be a rehab center and an assisted living, because they're two different types of organizations, and a teaching facility to teach staff, to train staff, not only for their facilities, but for other assisted living facilities in the county. But to get a license for both, for a rehab and for an assisted living, apparently is very, very difficult. And they're running into a problem. They can get licensing for assisted living, but not the combination of the two. I think they've almost given up on the rehab and medical portion of it.
Or it could be a longer term part of the project.
From what I've heard, they've almost given up on that.
That's unfortunate.
To get service people to work in assisted living facilities is very, very difficult to get them and to keep them. They start these jobs as almost like, well, something to do until I get a real job. And these facilities really need trained people to work with seniors, not somebody who's only there for a short period of time. I am working now with the Ombudsman's Office and with Folsom College to get a program, a career path program, to start people as workers in assisted living and to follow a career path where they would stay in working with these kinds of jobs. And I think the college has come across now with the idea of before you can work in an assisted living place, you have to have over 20 hours of training before you can actually be on the floor. So the college is willing now to offer that kind of training, give people a certificate. They can now go into an assisted living place and say, hey, look, I have the preliminary training. Do you want to hire me? And if you do hire me, will you carry me along probably or possibly along the career path? So that's what they're working on now. So I think I answered more than you wanted.
No, that was good, because the other part of that too is that, and we talk about it quite a bit with a lot of the age-restricted communities and with our aging population, is that it puts a bigger demand on infrastructure in terms of not just do we have enough doctors, which we obviously don't here, services, medical offices, can they see the nurse, those type of things, but there's an impact too on our emergency services or fire services. That typically the calls go up, ambulance calls go up, and we have an ambulance challenge in this county in terms of being able to cover. It's a big area, small population. It's hard to get from point A to point B, when the demands are it's an emergency situation. So those are questions that we can ask in terms of planning approvals. I don't know if that's part of the process, but I certainly would hope that the fire department, as a responding agency, would have that input, that we probably wouldn't be able to ask those questions and get some feedback. So
John, to kind of respond or add to the hospital, I've not heard of anybody talking about breaking a new hospital anywhere in Delaware County.
No.
We only have the two hospitals in Elderado County, Martin up in Tahoe, and then we have Marshall
yeah.
Hospital. What we might see is more outpatient surgical centers, those kinds of things, like the one off of Saratoga. So we might have those kinds of facilities available, but not hospital staff and emergency. Not
hospitals, and we might see more doctor offices.
Right.
I know that my doctor's in Folsom, and he's looked here, but in terms of facility, there's nothing available as turnkey. And obviously, he doesn't want to, as a single doctor in a practice, doesn't want to build it. He'd rather just rent the space or buy it. So those are good questions, and as this project moves along, that public input will be important to ask those type of questions. And again, like I said, in terms of planning and the approvals project, I don't know where that intersects, but those are good questions, and something for people to consider in the decision-making capacity. So, we are flying through tonight. This next one we have on here is actually a project in Cameron Park, and it's right above El Dorado Hills on Woodley Lane. And it's an old project from 1988. It's small, 7 or 8 lots. But this is an example of things that APAC that we've been seeing for the last few years, is that there are projects from the 80s, the 90s that were approved that are coming up. They're being modified a little bit. But, these are old projects that have been approved, that have their, the rights to build. The only thing that the public gets to touch, or the community gets to touch, is when they have changes made to them. And since it's from 1988, there are a few changes. So we'll jump through this real quick. And this is just an example. So the project site's over here in the red, and this is Woodley Lane, and down here is El Dorado Hills. There's another project proposed right over here for 84 homes that will have a road that connects into Woodridge, the Woodridge Village, and will connect to Summer Drive, which will connect to Bass Lake Road. So you could get from any place on Woodley through those roads down through in El Dorado Hills. So that's why we just included it on the website as a project that's being developed. So they are going to the Planning Commission. They had been there last year, and there was a problem with a challenge with the General Plan Amendment Zoning Ordinance Update lawsuit. CAL FIRE had some disagreements with the county how some specific items were addressed to resolve that. So it's back now this year. They waited a year and they've come back. So these are the things that the Planning Commission will be looking at. Tentative subdivision map, 7 single-family lots from about 17,000, 21,000 square feet. 1 single-family lot of 261,000 square feet. It's a pretty big lot. And 1 roadway letters lot for a street. They're asking for a waiver of the Design and Improvement Standard Manual, to include modifications of the Subdivision Road Improvement Standard Plan, the specific 101B. A flag lot, the big lot, they're talking about a lot 8, to increase the allowed narrow access portion of the flag lot from 100 feet to 232 feet. So it's a very narrow portion that runs alongside the other developed parcels. They want they want an exception made to go for 232 feet instead of 100. And then asphalt dike along Woodley Lane in lieu of a concrete curb and gutter along the project frontage. And I have a picture to show you of that. But oops, I went too far. So basically, this is very simple. This is what they're looking at now. These 7 home sites along the frontage on Woodley, and the big, huge 261,000 on the backside. And this would be the flag lot, this small corner back here, to access that big project. As we look at that, this is in Melton. Correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe John can. The asphalt dike is just an asphalt curb. It's a raised, and that would be different from what we see in most areas of El Dorado Hills, where it's a concrete. If it's a curb like that, it's a raised concrete curb, or it's a rolled curb with a gutter for water flow. They propose to leave that like it is. So, and to go back in time, this is what they had proposed in 1988. I think it was 16 or 17 lots with a road that runs through the entire thing. So it's considerably downsized. Woodley Lane's a funny road in that parts of it are owned by are county maintained, and parts of it are privately owned. There's one section at like 100-something feet, 200 feet from some houses. So there's a conflict with maintaining that road, and I guess the homeowners who are in control of that segment really don't have a big interest in maintaining it. So. And their neighbors are up on the hill behind me, so I hear about that every once in a while. So that's really what it is, but this is just an example of a project that's really old. And, like when we had talked about, well, we'll get to it in a minute, projects that were approved years ago and they come back, well, they're approved and they're debating internally, some exceptions they're going to allow. Our chance for input on those projects was then. If there's small changes and they're minor in nature or ministerial, then we don't have a lot of input on it. We don't get a chance. I mean, you're welcome to make public comments, but in terms of the approval process. So this is the other project we talked about last week. So or last month, and this has been resolved. It's a resolution necessity for the Country Club Drive realignment to Bass Lake Road. and this is another long-natured project. Country Club right now is, it comes along Highway 50 as a frontage, comes up here to Bass Lake, and it's level surface F right in this area, E and F. It's horrible getting off the freeway, it's horrible getting on the freeway. On Sunday, when people come from Holy Trinity Church, they come back this way, and it's lined up all the way back to here with traffic, people waiting to turn, it's a mess. So, in 1992, the Bass Lake traffic study, EAR that did, determined that, hey, probably should move that road. And as part of the Bass Lake Hills specific plan, that was included as a feature to move Country Club, and this new alignment would be right along Terra de Dios, go up past Holy Trinity, roughly come along. The original proposal was City Lights Drive, which is a dirt road. And it'd be a signalized intersection here. And there'd be other improvements, turn lanes, and other things. But when it came time, it's a development agreement that the developer would go ahead and they would get the easement and everything needed to build these roads. So they had a disagreement with the property owner, who had already agreed and had given rights for access along Bass Lake Road, but his concern was, and this is a better picture. The original study from '92 was along City Lights Drive, straight through. The proposal in the specific plan in '95, '96 was to move it a little farther in, and now the county and the developer's proposal that it's less expensive, they won't have to move as much earth. To move it further into this parcel, well, it divides it because this is a seasonal stream right here. So it removes a lot of the use for the property owner. And he owns several properties over there, and he has investment partners with other properties as well. And one of the things that he had suggested was that ideally he'd like to put a medical office over here. With this over here, you can't. It's right up against a seasonal stream. Well, ironically, the medical office is not something that's zoned for the specific plan. So he would still have to fight for zoning. But he wasn't agreeing about the price. The county and the developer had determined was a fair price for the property. They did go ahead and vote the Board of Supervisors to proceed with that resolution of necessity to start eminent domain proceedings. Gave them a few weeks to work it out, and if I'm right, John, they did come to an agreement.
Yep.
So I had to call in to Lennar Homes. I haven't heard back. And maybe you had some visibility to it. So are we talking about this construction season that they're going to get started on Country Club, or is it still 6 to 9 months? I haven't heard.
They're pushing it as fast as possible, but I think it's no less than 6 months. It's not,
Yeah, so it's probably outside.
Somebody else here knows better than I do, but that's the last I understood.
Yeah, and I know that as part of the specific plan and the development agreement, that the developer has a reduction in some fees if they meet certain triggers, and this road is part of it. That after 2 years, I think it's a $400,000 fee increase. That the discount goes away, and then after 3 years, it's $750,000.
Right.
Which is, a proactive way to look at it. But in the grand scheme of things, we're talking probably about $800,000 homes. I don't know how big an incentive $750,000 is. So, but they are conditioned to do it. So. They're doing a lot of grading over there, and hopefully we'll see this road get put through soon so that we can alleviate the traffic problem there. So if there's no other questions on that, I just wanted to update everybody because I've gotten emails and phone calls.
Yeah, Erica, I have a question to the last meeting.
Yeah.
I guess the old country club road that we're not utilizing for is supposed to be a bike path walkway path.
Yep.
I'm curious, is that going to be extended through to Tom near my house, or is that going to be a continuation behind my house that the old country club road goes to Solda?
I don't think there's any plan continuation.
Can you speak up? We can't hear the question or the answer.
So you're asking if that the old Country Club Road is supposed to be converted to a bike and walking path, and it will stop with bollards, dividers at the end to prevent traffic from that section of the roadway, convert it to a bike and walking trail, and the roadway will just be basically Terra de Dios up over the hill.
So any bike path is going to end up going down the old Bass Lake River line when they put in the new Connection Country Club, continuing from that intersection on down. That's probably what's planned, but I don't know for sure the details of it.
There's been discussion for years
Yeah.
about using the old Lincoln Highway and
Yeah.
the actual, you can walk down in there.
The old Bass Lake Road.
The old Lincoln Highway is down there.
Yeah, it goes through the Clarksville, yeah.
Is that for Tom and everything?
Well,
It's parallel to.
It's close.
This is up and over the hill.
Right.
It would go, technically it would go under the highway and cross the south
It's adjacent to where
side.
the new Align Country Club, when it gets connected, will be. It's the old highway section, and I can't see them using that for a bike path. They
Well,
use it for historic purposes.
we talked to
about
the
museum and.
I talked to DOT Director Martinez at another event,
Yeah.
and he had said that right now it's only planned to stop and start right there, which is a very short section of bike path. But they also want to use the bike lanes on Country Club as you go along through past the elementary school, the middle school on the backside, and all the way into Cameron Park. But as far as it going west, it would stop there for now. And then if you wanted to continue on a bike, you'd have to go up to the new Country Club alignment, cross at the signal light, and then for right now, that road's going to stop right there until they get the approvals to do the rest of the Country Club. So it's don't say it's a bike trail to nowhere, but it's a bike trail to nowhere for now.
But eventually, they are.
The intent is eventually, there are a lot of intents, but yeah, so, but right now it would just be that small section. And they also talked about, in terms of going east, that it would be a bike trail that would eventually end up in technically Shingle Springs and like by North Shingle to get up to the high school at Ponderosa. But you ride a lot of bikes, that's a lot of uphill. I don't know, you know, it'd be a nice feature to have. Who's going to pay for it, how it's going to pay for it, and who's going to build it? If we had a time machine, we'd know. But this is resolved right now, and fingers crossed that, you know, there's some improvement there in the short term. It's a big backup, and it's a lot of accidents along the road. We'll go ahead and jump through. We're going real fast. We might be done instantly here. So these are just some updates of some area projects that have been approved, that are in development right now, that are being constructed. And if you don't get out and around, or you don't get to town center, you don't see that the apartments have started. If you haven't been out on Green Valley Road, you don't see that Silver Springs has started grading for Unit 1 there. Just a lot of individual projects that, again, they're older projects that were approved a while ago that now, you know, the economy's hot and you get a strike when it's hot. So we'll jump through. Silver Springs, which is, if I'm remembering, 234 lots was the original proposal. Now it's 181, and they were at the Board of Supervisors yesterday to convert 10 lots into 8 to eliminate a court. They had some pad issues on some of the home sites where they'd have to have dual pads. And it's, you know, it's expensive to build houses that way, and these aren't production houses. So, and that was approved. If I'm, yeah, it was not approved. So that's approved. But they're grading, and this one's basically alongside Pleasant Grove Middle School, and it does go behind Sierra Crossing, and it goes all the way over. It basically touches Bass Lake Road by Magnolia Hills. It's a big project. There's 3, but again, this is a project. I saw the original document was from 1981 for the proposal. The approvals were 98, and I think that the designs were in 88, if I'm remembering right. Because when we built our house, it was disclosed that they were doing this. So, so I guess if you have nothing but time and money, you can get a project built. That's a long time to wait. There are new owners on this project now, so it is moving forward. The road was built a couple of years ago. We're still waiting for the southern connection to Bass Lake Road. It's you know, at the curve there, when unfortunately we had a fatal accident again last Saturday, a motorcycle down, and there was an accident when I drove through there on my way here tonight. So in the time I've been there have been 4 fatal accidents at that curve. There's a 5th right across the entrance from Magnolia Hills, a motorcycle down right where J7 will be. That was another one. So in 23 years, 5 fatal accidents. But typically, though, the Highway Patrol Report will say that it's the operator, you know, the way the vehicle is being operated was in an unsafe manner for that road segment. Well, I think if the road segment was a little better, we'd probably avoid a little bit of that. So, fingers crossed that this project, as it's moving forward, I've talked to John Kaling, and I believe 2020 for the southern connection is when they expect construction. It's in the CIP. So, hopefully. So, this is a couple looks at it. That is some red dirt. I remember that in my backyard when we were building. It's not red anymore. But they have done quite a bit. They're knocking stuff down. They're going to get ready for pads, obviously, and for utilities. And this is from Silver Springs Parkway. They are preserving the one cemetery site right there on the road, by the road. So it's an old historic plot. So So after that, down the road on Bass Lake, Serrano Village J6, Lennar's building this right now. It's being marketed as Sienna Ridge Estates. It's in two different units. The other one I think is, I cannot remember the name of the builder, but I want to say it's Atlantic Homes. I'm probably wrong. But they have several going up, and these went up pretty fast. As I drove through last night to grab these pictures, there's probably about 10 houses in construction right now. Most of them models. Some of them will be spec houses for the first handful of buyers. After that, and that is 148 lots in Unit 1. So this is directly across the street from, it's on the back side of Bass Lake Road. This is directly across the street from the Sienna Ridge commercial project, the Safeway. They've had a lot of challenges with weather. Obviously, we've had a couple rainy years. They do have a ton of cinder block on site, so it is a cinder block construction, and they're stacking right now. They have the rebar in place, and they're going. And we have talked to not the project developer, which is Donnie Schridner, but we talked to Parker because they sold the project, and they had indicated to the Parker Development Company that they were hoping for a holiday opening for the Safeway. That's probably not, kudos if they can do it. We'd also heard that September, they were talking about maybe a September opening. It's possible maybe, I know that they have some tenants signed, they haven't disclosed anything. There's a bank, a restaurant, those type of things. Maybe they'll have those buildings up first and maybe those will be open, but they are moving along. They're moving a lot of equipment through there, and there's a lot of people on site. So that is going, finally. And that's done to look at it from from Sienna Ridge, looking back into the project. Serrano Park was at the end of the road. So, oops, went too far. Across the road from that, Hawkview, the models are going up right now, and if I'm remembering, Hawkview is 114 residential. It will be, they have the cinder block was delivered in the last week. It's stacked up along the road. It'll be a gated community, 2 access points onto Bass Lake Road. So another look at it from, this is for Sienna Ridge, ends up at Bass Lake Road. But they're moving along. They have a court, the roadway paved in the court on the inside. So it's moving along. This will be the first property in the Bass Lake Hills Pacific Plan that we'll probably be selling. Bell Woods is in Cameron Park, but you got, one of the access points is through El Dorado Hills and through Laurel Oaks. This is the only place you can get a picture of it where you're not trespassing, so I did not trespass. But this looks functionally the same as it did during the winter. But if you're in Laurel Oaks or if you're in Cameron Park and Bar J looking back into it from your backyard, they're moving a lot of dirt. And that's, I believe, like 56, if I'm remembering correctly, 54 lots. So it's a small project, but it is in Cameron Park. And then Bell Ranch, which is 112 lots on 113 acres. And it's right there above Holy Trinity. And it's, again, I didn't want to trespass, but they have a lot of earth moving equipment back there. They're doing a lot of grading. They have some water retention facilities going in right now. So, but it's moving along. And again, there's a lot of dirt, a lot of dust. And that's another view looking back down towards Bass Lake Road on the bottom. And then the Town Center Apartments, they're starting with the grading. They're in there right now. They have the construction, the green construction fencing around everything. They're moving a lot of dirt there. I did not get a message back. I'd asked if they had a timeline for what they expected they could get done this year, but I don't know if anybody had heard anything else. But I didn't get an answer. So, but they are moving. So when you're in Town Center this year, the fireworks will be from the lake, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah. So yeah, the fireworks will be from the lake. The fire department helped with testing, and they verified they can do it safely. So instead of launching the fireworks from the empty lot where the apartments are going to be, fireworks are from the lake. So everyone enjoy those. And then Oakmont, which was hard to get a picture of. The sun was setting, and from the other side was all shadow. But Oakmont is a project that's going through in Town Center West. Technically, it's kind of outside of it. But I don't know. I didn't ask Louis. Do you know when they expect to be done?
Again, weather.
Yeah.
As whole.
But this year, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think they're looking at September.
Okay.
It's either August or September. They were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had an email about.
They had a preliminary walkthrough if you want to go and see the
facility.
Yeah, and I did not go get grab any pictures of the pavilions today. The traffic was bad last night, and I was very busy. The pavilions, we were invited to do a walkthrough tomorrow, and I'm not available, but that facility I think is essentially done. I know when we were at the community council meeting in May, there was some question, maybe it was the APAC meeting, I think it was the community council. There were questions about the landscaping, are they going to finish cleaning up? Again, I put in a phone call, I haven't heard anything back, but that facility is done as well. And then Serrano Village J Lot H, which is on the north side, at the end of Serrano Parkway where it comes to Bass Lake Road. They've done a lot of grading, and again, it's all interior. I didn't want to trespass, but they moved a lot of dirt, and they have a partial wall up, so it's moving along as well.
I have a question, Ravel. Across from Oakmont, they cleared the field there. Do you have any idea what? I know they have plans, but has anything been submitted? You know, because they cleared that area right across from Oakmont in.
Nothing official submitted, no, but there's plans, but nothing official submitted.
I know they have plans for a hotel and all these other kinds of things. Has that been submitted? No.
So basically that's it. Look how fast we did this tonight. We did
One thing you didn't have on there that I had discussion was the vineyards, and that is going to come back at some point. They promised to come back to APAC. And I think
Yeah, she asked about coming in May. No, she asked about coming in April, but it was 3 days before our meeting.
Right.
So that was bad timing, and she was out of town from May, and I have not heard back from her. But I told her, we extended an invitation to anybody who wants to come and talk about their project. So,
I usually plan it on July, but you guys
but we'll do that. And we did this, we did our meeting early this month because I'm out of town next month, and we had heard that there were several projects, big projects that might be here in June, so we wanted to be available in case that happened. I'll ask real quick. We've heard nothing on Costco because I'll be asked. So there's no word when they provide us.
Just scuttlebutt stuff.
Yeah, and I don't want to engage in that. So, but there's no official word. There are a number of projects that we've had project applicants contact us about, and obviously we can't disclose what they're talking about because they don't have an official project yet. We want to respect that because they're being upfront with us, telling us, hey, we have a project coming. So if we don't respect that, we don't hear about it until after the fact, and we want to have open lines of communication. But there are 3 or 4 rather significant projects, whether it's this year, next year, 2 years.
You still have Quantum Care, which is on the corner again for White Rock and Carson's, and that was held up because of a land dispute
For the connector?
White Rock, who owned that land. Four Seasons thought they owned it, and apparently we didn't. So that's still in the works, and that should be started.
Yeah.
We're going to start on that soon.
The other thing was, and I think we talked about it a little bit at the community council meeting on Monday, is that in Town Center East, the Aloft Hotel project, which is a project that, as part of the plan development, it's approved right now. All they have to do is pull building permits and adhere to building code, and they can get going. But that's on the inside. It's between the movie theater and sort of that empty lot where Mercedes parks cars back there in that area generally, and they want a good freeway visibility, and they'll have it. But I looked; there were no permits pulled for that parcel number yet. I know that they're. I talked to Mr. Mansour about that, and he said that they were getting ready to go. So, you have a question?
My apologies if this has already been spoken previous months when I haven't been here, but is there any word on Town Center West with the proposed working garages and convention center?
No, John had kind of addressed that a little bit. There's a discussion. They're doing it internally between. I know they're selling the property to somebody. They're talking about what they can do, but there are things that they have to get approved before they can go forward with something like that. I talked to Mr. Mansour in May and partly on Rainstorm, and he said that the new owner of the property had walked through and talked to several residents back there just to introduce himself, type of thing, but nothing official.
Okay.
When it's official, we'll do it.
Of course.
Yeah.
And then anything on the Montano expansion?
No, they applied. They talked about doing the EIR. They had the scoping meeting here in this room 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 3 years ago. had talked to the newspaper about how he's getting ready to start moving dirt, but they haven't submitted a draft environmental impact report yet, so nothing. And I haven't heard from him in a while, so that's where it's at.
I would just like to mention, John, the JPA connector has contacted Four Seasons, and they want to show their plans on what they intend to do to White Rock, starting from the county line up to Silver Valley. And I'm going to invite them to come to APAC because it's more than Four Seasons that's involved in that road. So as soon as I get in contact, or they get in contact with me, I've called them already, we will plan a meeting probably for the end of August when people are back, and we can have like Stonebriar and all of the other communities that will be along that. So that's in the works. Yeah.
Does that plan, has that plan changed? Because I don't know how many years ago when I spoke to you gave me the name of a woman, you emailed me plans of that entire connector from Silver Valley.
Well,
Four Seasons.
one of the things that we saw, and I think John was in that meeting, is that White Rock Road, from the county line going to Latrobe, they're going to limit access, left-hand turns off of like Bailey Circle and things like that, because they want to make it a 2-lane road, a 4-lane road without left-hand traffic slowing it down, which to many people at that meeting just didn't fly. They used an example of La Trata on Silver Valley, that you can't make a left-hand turn there, and that the people apparently are okay with it. Well, at the meeting on Monday night of the community council, there were people from that road that are really, really upset by the traffic buildup that this is causing. So I think people have to be very aware of what they want to do to that road, you know, and how they want to restrict traffic on that road. Turns anyway.
So it's probably Michelle Spira who had the maps and stuff, because she's working with the JPA. She does the outreach, the public communication, that type of thing. So that's probably who was referred to. There's been modifications of the specific designs around the county line area, because there had to be an accommodation for long-term care facility. So there's been some shifting in things, the details of which are available, but they're not something that you saw a year ago, because it just recently been finalized.
Yeah, I was more curious just for the communities to be able to get out left-hand, right?
There's a long-standing issue with Bailey Circle, and if I look back in time, the DOT allowed a closed cap, no second access egress situation in that property, which could have been provided for at the time, but it was done back in the 80s. And so it happened, and there's nothing really that can be easily modified at this point. So that's a continuing discussion on how you try to mitigate that, but it's difficult. So.
Bruce?
Just a quick question. With all of those new funds going in, are there any talks about new schools?
No, in fact, projection, when we talked to the superintendent from El Dorado Union High School District, the projection was declining enrollment in most of the schools, maybe not at Oak Ridge, but overall, which is a challenge they have, because there's been a lot of talk about doing something with the high school property that they purchased at the south end of the business park, but they can't get state matching dollars to and it's expensive to build a high school, to build a school.
So the caveat to that is charter schools.
Yes.
There is a talk of another charter school coming to El Dorado Hills. There's talk of a preschool organization that has multiple facilities coming to El Dorado Hills. So those are the categories of schools that might be in the offing within the next 5 years or something, but nothing of a major high school or junior high school, junior college, any of those.
And in terms of school sites, the Rescue Unified School District owns, they own the property across from the Safeway along Bass Lake Road, up the hill a little bit. They envision a K-8 school there. The high school district owns property behind Pleasant Grove Middle School off of Green Valley. They own a big piece of property, I think almost 200 acres, on the south end of the business park. So they own the property, it's a matter of the dollars and the enrollment.
I just be curious who's doing that analysis, because, so this year alone,
It's
for
a-
his age group, they have the highest incoming class for Valley Youth. They're gonna
Yeah.
have 800 students, which is almost beyond their capacity. And then, just like Little League numbers and soccer numbers for under 6-year-olds, it's the
Yeah.
highest we've ever seen. And it's outmatching Folsom. And so I'm curious who's doing those projections.
Well, those projections are, you know, the county Department of Education and then the school districts themselves. And the county actually doesn't touch it. The county has no, you know, they can, and whenever projects are proposed, we know that they put those letters to the schools and the school districts and say, hey, what's your input? And typically the school district will reply, as long as we get the fees, we can make it work. And that's the per resident, per,
On the Melrose fees for new projects, because.
Those are good.
Older projects, are those fees grandfathered in, or is it a new rate?
it's a community finance district is usually limited like by a border. So if there's a new project outside that, they develop a new one. I know the Bass Lake Hills Pacific Plan, those are some big dollar, that's a big Melrose. And if you look and see what the CSD's fees are for that, you know, you're talking, I want to say it was like $3,000 per lot per year for this, for the Melrose, for the infrastructure and everything else.
I think they're ending that in,
No.
was it 33?
It was a 40-year Melrose for the Bass Lake Hills Pacific
They
Plan.
finally did an ending, because they hadn't
Yeah.
finished the bonds, but I had heard that they were building another high school. Is that what you heard?
I have not heard about another high school.
No.
That's why they.
Union Mine is underutilized right now.
Yeah.
They've got some kids
Yeah.
all over the country.
And they're-
Union Mine, it's underutilized.
Well, that's it, and it's, you know, I just had a graduate from Ponderosa, because we're to the east in El Dorado Hills, and registration and enrollment at Ponderosa will be going down for that. I have one more, and she'll be done in 3 more years, and by the time she's done, the class size will be reduced pretty significantly. There were 400 that graduated a week ago, 2 weeks ago. It's smaller every year after that, it's a projection. And the same for the elementaries, which is bizarre. But you spoke about Valley View. Valley View, they couldn't open the school because they didn't have enough people. And now,
What they've said is during the recession years, there was this huge decline. So
Yeah.
the enrollment from 2007 to about 2012 is lower, but then the new generation coming through is well beyond what capacity can handle. So that's where I'm just curious with the.
well, I know that when we talked a couple of projects south, when we talked to Lennar, we talked to Wynn, you know, that Wynn's community project on the old business park, the 207 acres there, that's in the Latrobe School District. Latrobe does not have the ability to, you know, so those fees that they did, so I think they're probably going to be talking about maybe something to do with Buckeye, which is why a lot of the age-restricted communities are over there, because there's no impact on the schools. So with that, so I'm going to do, as we're closing up here.
Oh,
John.
one final one for anybody. I'm not trying to do a sales pitch. If anybody would like to see the Pavilion's Memory Care Facility off of Green Valley Road, their formal grand opening is Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And they promised a lot of events, refreshments and stuff. So if somebody wanted to go look at the facility for possibility placement of somebody, that would be the best time probably to go and visit, because they're doing their open house type of grand opening.
I'll be going down there, John. I'm going down from APAC and also
Okay.
representing the Ombudsman of El Dorado County.
Are you going on Saturday? Or are you going on Thursday?
Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of a pre-review
Yeah,
of tomorrow, and then there's
Yeah.
the Saturday grand opening.
And I couldn't make either, so.
Either event, I think is good to attend, if you can, if you're interested. Right?
Yeah, and it's a big facility. It'd be interesting to see how it turns out. I know there's some concerns about the outside of it. Did you have something?
Yeah, just a comment from me. You know, again, thanks to Mel and the planning department, it's been like a complete change of environment, dealing with the entire planning department in the last 6 or 7 months with the change of leadership. There's a certain definite sense of transparency, cooperation. It's just been a sea change in, I think, the way they're dealing with the citizens and everything else. And so just a thank you and a shout out, and keep up the good work, because I know as an APAC member, I very much appreciate it. getting the information that we need and getting it back in a timely manner.
And that was on my list. So, and Mel will call me during the day, and so that I know something or a question or an answer. And I'm always on the phone, so I never take this call. I always just call back. But I appreciate it. I mean, it's invaluable. And our planning commissioner John Bignan will call during the day. I mean, it is a sea change. I mean, it is a lot more dialogue. And we appreciate you coming down here after you've worked all day.
Yeah, I consider transparency, which I think is what government's all about. So thank the departments that are doing that, because the community now has visibility of what's planned and what's happening.
Yeah.
The past wasn't real easy to get to.
That's it. So, as we wrap this up, our next meeting will be on July 10th. We'll be back at the CST Pavilion, pointing the right way, 7 p.m. It's the week after the 4th of July, so hopefully everybody's recovered by then. The one thing we do want to say is that if you are not on our email list, the sign-up forms are back there. You'll get one email a month unless there's something urgent, and that's typically, it's like, here's our agenda, here's when we're meeting. But we also have contact information on our website. If you have questions, or if you have an opinion, we try to get the plans and the projects that are relevant to El Dorado Hills on the website so that it's easier to find. There are a lot of them on there now, so it's not as easy as it once was, but it's easier than it was in the past, just going through the county website. So, and again, we thank everybody for coming out. The dialogue with the county and the resident input is valuable. We can't change projects, but we can make them better. So we appreciate everybody coming out. And with that, is the game still on? Can we switch this here? Okay, thank you. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good to see you again. Yeah.